Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. So I think that all of us are kind of thinking the same thing, right? Like, where the heck is the ban list and when is it going to come up? I think it's been like 2 weeks since YCS Niagara and we still haven't seen anything yet. Hopefully it's this week. I think everyone's kind of waiting on it before deciding exactly what decks and stuff they should be picking up going into the next format. Of course, though, the market is never truly completely quiet, so we do still have a few things to discuss as we anticipate the next ban list. Let's get started. First up, we have a card from the 2022 Megatins. It is Link into the Vrains. So we had a few imports from the OCG in the Megatins, and I think that Link into the Vrains is the one that players were most looking forward to. Its effect is pretty straightforward. You get to special summon a monster from your hand, negating its effect, but then you immediately get to conduct a Link summon using monsters on your field, including that Link monster, and importantly, your opponent can't activate anything in response to the Link summon, and they can't negate the summon either. Now this does have another effect where if it's in the graveyard and your Link monster is destroyed, you get to add a monster from your graveyard with the same type back to your hand. So I think that the main deck that people are looking at using this card in is Magical Musketeers. Their big problem is that if you negate the effect of Max, their Link 1 monster, they have a very difficult time generating advantage, but this way you can guarantee that its effect is going to go through. I'm sure that there are also other things that you could do, like forcing through the effect of Halka Fibrax, but as of right now, there's no meta deck that's really taking advantage of this card. So initially, Link into the Vrains was only $1 or so, but in the last week, it has actually gone up considerably and is now $4 to $5 for a single copy. I assume that part of this is just people reading the card and thinking, yeah, this card might be good in the future, but it's also worth noting that the Kali Effect mentioned this in one of his videos, which might have turned a lot of people's attention towards it. Now, personally, I'm not too big a fan of this card. I feel like you're just burning a card in your hand unnecessarily a lot of the time, and this card is a really horrible top deck as well. We might eventually see this card used in some sort of niche strategy eventually, but overall, I do think that there are better cards from the tins that you guys should be turning your attention to instead. I personally wouldn't be picking up this card for anything more than $2 a piece. Next up, kind of a weird one here, we have Cybeast. So this is a level 2 psychic monster, unfortunately not useful with emergency teleport. Now, if this card is normal summoned, you get to banish a psychic monster from your deck, and then change this card's level to the level of the banished monster. Now, it just so happens that the Kashtira are a psychic type archetype that use level 7 monsters. They don't use their normal summon all that much, so the theory is that you can use Cybeast as an Xyz material to make a rank 7. By the way, I know some of you guys think I can't pronounce Kshatrila. I am intentionally calling it the Kashtira, as that is the archetype's name here in the TCG. The name was revealed with the details for Photon Hypernova, the core set coming after Darkwing Blast. Anyways, I haven't seen too many lists that are actually using Cybeast, especially after the new support coming in Photon Hypernova, which is when the deck gets really broken. However, I guess that Cybeast is a card that people are going to try and run when Darkwing Blast comes out in just over a month. Cybeast has also received one rare printing only from back in Extreme Victory, a set that came out way back in 2011, and as a result, the card has gone from basically being bulk to now being $8 a piece. Kinda seems silly to me, and I don't think it's really worth it since it seems kind of bad, to be honest. If you guys have been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for a while, I would dig this card up out of your bulk and offload them as soon as you can, even if it's for under the current market price, since I think it's only a matter of time before people realize that this card just isn't that great and the card goes back under $1. There is one other card for us to remember for the Kashtira deck, and that is number 11 Big Eye. Big Eye is a generic rank 7 monster with a very simple effect. You detach a material from it to take control of an opponent's monster, but it cannot attack this turn. This card is really important, especially in the Kashtira mirror match, since the Xyz monster's effects are not a hard once per turn, and if you steal a monster from your opponent, you get to use that effect for free. Pretty simple, and with Kashtira looking like a potentially top tier deck with the new support, this is definitely something that you'll want to keep an eye on. Now, Big Eye does have a few different printings, but it's a fairly old card, and the higher rarities are the older versions. For the higher rarity printings, we have the ultimate rares from one of the Astral Packs. Those are right over $100, around 110. And then we also have the original secret rares from back in Galactic Overlord at around $20 to $30, depending on if you're looking for a first edition or unlimited copy. Now, aside from that, the card does have a few other printings. I think it's a couple of ultra rares and then a gold rare version as well. Those are going to be anywhere from $5 to $8 depending on the version. Do remember that this is a card that has a history of getting expensive, right? Back in the days of Dragon Rulers, which ran 2 to 3 copies of this card, the secrets were like 60 to 70 a piece. If you want to play Kashtira in a few months, then it just might be a good idea to pick up a copy of Big Eye now, just in case it picks up any more hype. Next up is a card that has become increasingly expensive over the last year or so. It is Evenly Matched. So I think we all know what Evenly Matched is by now. It's kind of been this like big blowout card that a lot of people run in the side deck for when they're going second. Basically, it's a big part of why, if you aren't able to throw up a gigantic board with multiple negates, you definitely shouldn't be overcommitting resources to the field. Evenly is a card that has received a couple of different printings, the original, the Mega Pack Secret Rare, and then 2 Ultras, with the most recent printing coming in 2021 in Ghosts from the Past. However, due to it being a really solid side deck card recently, all versions of the card are actually starting to trend up in price. At the moment, we are seeing either Secret Rare version up between $40 to $50, and then the Ultras at between $30 to $35, which is a lot considering that right after Ghosts from the Past came out and it got that ultra rare reprint, you could grab a copy of this card for right around $20. I think that the difficult thing about this card is we don't know when it's finally going to get that breakthrough reprint that just makes it accessible for everyone, like a structure deck printing or maybe in a side set. At the same time, the next reprint of it could be in an OTS ultimate rare printing that has absolutely no effect on the price whatsoever. I don't really have a suggestion for whether or not you should be buying this card, since it is a gamble and it's ultimately up to Konami to decide what they want to do with it. Personally, I tend to err on the side of caution, so I'm keeping my own playset that I have for myself to use, but I'm also going to offload all of my extra copies just in case. The next card is Fluanderies and the Advent of Adventure. So this is a quick play spell card from Battle of Chaos that is a key card for the Fluanderies strategy. It has a pretty simple effect where you banish a Fluanderies monster from your hand or field to search for a Fluanderies monster or field spell from your deck and add it to your hand. Now, the reason this card is so good is that it helps Fluanderies to play around Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler, which would otherwise make it really hard to get to the actual tribute summon of Mega Raiza or Empin. The reason that this card is currently trending on the market, however, and that it's picked up so much attention, is that a bunch of the Fluanderies cards have recently been reprinted. We got reprints of Map and Empin in the tins, and Mega Raiza in Ghosts from the Past too, so Fluanderies is actually a really affordable, easy to build budget strategy, except for this one card. Lots of people targeted the Advent of Adventure after noticing that it wasn't included in the tin reprint range, and as a result the card has shot up over the last couple of months, from being $10 to $12 now up to a $20 card. And now, to be fair, the card theoretically shouldn't be reprinted until the 2023 tins, assuming of course that the whole Mega Tin product is still going to stick around. Of course, we need to ask ourselves if Fluanderies will still be in the meta in a year's time, which, who knows, right? Like, a lot of things can change. I don't think that this deck requires any banlist hits, and if we look at something like Salamangrate, that's a deck that can still potentially be competitive in today's game, despite how old they are. But then again, the format can evolve a lot, and who knows? On to the next one, we have Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. So this is a card that I've been meaning to talk about for a while. I don't know why it keeps on slipping my mind, but this is the Forgotten Ghost Girl hand trap because its effect hasn't always been that relevant. You can discard this card as a quick effect so that each time your opponent special summons a monster, you gain life points equal to that monster's attack points. Now, if you don't gain any life points with this effect, your life points are cut in half. But since this is a quick effect, you can just chain it onto a card so that you know a special summon will happen after this card has already resolved, so like a Tearlament affecting Grave or a Sprite Starter. Spooky Dogwood has become a popular side deck card recently because of the new time rules, very similar to how people are siding copies of Skullmarked Ladybug or Red Resonator. Of course, it's different because you have to draw it, but you can really just use this card to put your opponent in a difficult situation, right? Especially if they're about to go into something big that would put you up and create a huge life point differential. Now, in terms of different printings, it's the original secret rares that are a decent amount, with the unlimiteds at $15 each and the first editions at about $18. For other hard to find printings, it's really just the Lost Art Ultra Rares. Those are going to be around $8 to $10. The card does also have some lower rarity printings that are super cheap. The 2022 Mega Pack Supers should only be a quarter or so, and then it has the gold rare printing as well. But if you would like to side in some high rarity cards to cheese some wins out with the new time rules, then maybe Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood is the card for you. Last but not least, we have Welcome Labyrinth. So maybe it's just me being a bit biased out here with this one, but I am a really big fan of the Labyrinth deck. I just made top 8 with it at our local OTS championship this past weekend, despite how our locals has a lot of players that are on meta decks, especially Sprite and Tearlament. So Welcome Labyrinth is basically the most important card of the Labyrinth deck. It summons any Labyrinth monster straight out of the deck, which is usually going to be the Queen, which is what allows you to start overwhelming your opponent with multiple back row interruptions. And what's kind of broken is that this card can constantly keep on resetting itself out of the graveyard, and it doesn't even banish itself when it returns, which is kind of insane. Tactical Masters may be a pretty underwhelming set overall. I think that Labyrinth might be the sleeper deck that catches everyone off guard and actually ends up being good out of the set. I personally think that they are the best trap deck of the format, better than anything like Eldritch, and because of that I do think they are being slept on right now. Keep in mind that there is a new main deck monster coming for the Labyrinth theme in Darkwing Blast, which is the next core set, and all it would take is another really cool trap card for the deck to be really scary. All of that being said, I think that Labyrinth is definitely a cool deck core for you to pick up if you're fond of back row strategies, especially with Welcome Labyrinth now down at about $20 each right now. You can basically get the entire core for under $100. Alright guys, that is it for today's episode. Nothing too crazy today. Hopefully with a ban list later on this week, we will be able to talk about some more interesting things. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy today's Market Watch, please make sure that you let me know by slamming that thumbs up button for me. Also, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the cards we talked about today and what other cards are trending on the market so I can potentially cover them in a future Market Watch episode. Also, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button to get all of the latest and greatest content from both Tom and myself here on the channel. And until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.